Good evening and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, August 9th, 2016. Now called to order at approximately 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live by Local Access Programming. Is anyone here in the audience tonight recording tonight's meeting? Okay. Seeing none, please rise and join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. At this time, I would like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and each of the planning board members to please refrain from asking questions in regards to all matters discussed this evening without first being granted my consent. Anticipating that there may be some public comment, appreciate it if everybody would allow us to control the meeting through that. The first item on our agenda tonight is an A&R plan from 98 Tinker Hill Road. Would you please come up and address the board? Could you give us your name, address, and a quick description of why you're returning tonight?
My name is Marie Prouty. I live at 75 Tinker Hill Road, and I'm interested in selling some property at 101 and 102 and 106 Tinker Hill Road.
Okay. Taryn, have any comment?
Yes, and I'll have Eric, by all means.
At our last meeting, Ms. Prouty was here. She presented an A&R plan to the board, and the planning department just had some concerns with some of the language on the notes regarding an easement for future road construction, as well as some rounding parcels, which would also be included in a future road construction. We requested that the language associated with the notes be amended. Those notes have been amended. We have reviewed them. We feel comfortable with them. So our department would recommend that the board would endorse the plan.
Make a motion to accept the authorization not required with the amended language.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Any further discussion?
So I don't think this is a public hearing for the A&R plan, so I think we'd unfortunately hold public comment until the public hearing section's a little bit later down the plan.
There's 3 copies for signatures.
How's that?
We're going to give you, through the chair, we're going to give you a copy. We're going to give you the Mylar from here. Once this is signed by the members, you bring this to the Worcester Registry of Deeds and have it recorded. Then it becomes official.
Okay. So I have to bring it to the Registry of Deeds in Worcester?
Yes.
Okay.
With a paper copy as well for your own records.
That's good. Thank you.
Welcome.
And there's 3. Yes, sir.
If I need to make an appointment to go there, I just go, just take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure thing. Just a quick note to the audience. The items on Marie T. Baker requesting a special permit is expected to be continued, as is the item on Robert Nolette. And the hearing on the general services amendment, multiple business use, and registered marijuana dispensaries will likely begin starting at 7:20 and thereafter. Is anybody here from 33 Santam Street? Come up and address the board.
That's on Jim.
Good evening, board members. My name is Kenneth Smith. I'm the water superintendent for the Auburn Water District. What you have before you is an A&R plan showing land currently under the ownership of James Lundgren, and he's made an offering to the district to convey some of his property to the district, and this parcel, 13 and a half acres, is immediately adjacent to our property down off of South Street at the end of Potter Farms. We have 2 wells down there. The property will enhance our ability to relocate a well if we need to, if one of the wells becomes unusable. With our 400-foot radius, DEP is very stringent on that we have ownership of the land within that 400-foot radius. This gives us a little latitude of relocating a well. The aquifer down here does not support an additional well, but it's always good to have the property. It's undeveloped land, not useful for much other, and it would just make a little bit bigger piece of land down there to do things with. So.
Town have any comment?
Yes, Eric Westbrown, Assistant Town Planner. Let me address that.
To the chair, after reviewing the plan before us, we find it sufficient. What we see is the A&R plan is proposing 2 lots. One lot would remain in ownership of James Lundgren. The additional lot, which is referred to as Lot B on the plan, is backland. There's a note included on the plan that Lot B will not be a buildable lot, which is something that we certainly would want to be included. It also details that the land will be incorporated into the existing land of the Auburn Water District.
Any members of the board? Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion. Accept.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
We have 4 copies.
Sign and then good to go.
You're staying for the bylaws.
I didn't see.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
So the applications for 310 Leicester Street and 22 Ashcroft Street have requested a continuance. So I'd entertain a motion individually to continue those.
Make a motion to continue the Marie Baker requesting a special permit to the September 13th meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion on 22 Ashcroft.
Make a motion to move the hearing for Robert Nolet requesting a special permit to the September 13th meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. With no other business until our 7:20 p.m. hearing starts, we would entertain a brief recess until 7:20. Anybody like to make them?
Make that motion.
Okay. Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll take a brief recess and we'll return at 7:20 in time for the next hearing. Thank you, everybody. We are back and live. Would entertain a motion to open our 7:20 p.m. hearing.
Make that motion to open the 7:20 hearing and amendment of the Auburn zoning bylaw.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, so we're opening the hearing at 7:20 p.m., which is an amendment of the Auburn zoning bylaw, section 3.2.5.6, general services. At this point, we turn it over to the town for a brief presentation on a lot of the great work that's been done by the zoning bylaw review committee to bring us to this point. Matt?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Town Planner Eric Lesbrunz, who will discuss the next two public hearing items for you.
Through the chair, this is the first of 3 amendments being proposed to the zoning bylaws. And under the general services, we have a lengthy and detailed list of items here, and I'm just going to read it and then I'll highlight the change proposed. Reads that establishments providing services to the general public, such as equipment rental and leasing, building cleaning, photocopying, telephone answering, word processing or secretarial services, computer service bureaus, facilities for dancing, martial arts, or music instruction. This is our new phrase being proposed: facilities for physical exercise, fitness, or health. And then the general services continues with a few more uses. The reason that that this is before us is that over the past couple of years, the town has seen an increase in gyms, such as the CrossFit, and we've got a new cheerleading facility, both of which have come before our board. And our bylaw does not address those types of uses, and so it seemed pertinent that we make that change.
Okay. Is there any individual member comment on the proposal?
Both those businesses look like they're doing pretty well.
Wendy or John?
No, sir.
So we would open it up for any public comment on the zoning bylaw review committee change. Mark, you can approach the podium if you can. Thank you.
Mark Knoll, Town Meeting, 4 Warfield Street. Would these things be 24 hours a day?
You want to address that?
Sure. Through the chair, this is just a bylaw amendment. Whatever comes in as an application would propose its hours. If a new business were to come, and it would likely be declared under this section by the zoning enforcement officer, being the building inspector, those hours are not regulated under this particular bylaw. It would come through whatever use is proposed.
What about sound?
Through the chair, same thing. It depends on what's being proposed from a particular business, and that'd be regulated through this special permit or site plan review process with the planning board or zoning board of appeals.
They'd have to meet all the town codes, right?
Right, so Mark, this is just changing the definition of what would meet a general services condition. They would still then have to appeal to all of the other regulations that would apply towards that use. So it doesn't make any changes to any of the normal conditions for that, unless I'm misspeaking, but I believe it just adds additional uses to under that general category as the definition.
My question is, go for town meeting members too?
Yeah, so it might be a good opportunity for the town to kind of talk about the process here as well. First starting with the great work from the zoning bylaw review committee, volunteer committee putting this forward, and then kind of where we're going from here.
Sure. Yes, these bylaws, through the process of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, have to go through the process where they start with the Board of Selectmen. All 3 draft bylaws are recommended to the planning board for review, at which time, after a public hearing, which allows everyone to comment, it would then be recommended back to the Board of Selectmen for consideration for the town meeting warrant, and that town meeting is tentatively scheduled, I believe it was just declared last night, for October 18th, which is a Tuesday this year. So at this stage in the game, if the board is inclined to make a recommendation back to the Board of Selectmen, that would be entertained at their September 12th meeting, and depending on how that vote goes, go to town meeting.
Okay. Any other public comment on this proposal? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing any final statements from the town? Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
Make that motion?
Second. Okay. Any additional comment?
No.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. So we close the public hearing. Any additional member comments? Going through the process here. And then entertain a motion to approve with, I'm going to rely on Matt for a recommendation on the wording.
Sure, through the chair, you'd be looking for a motion to recommend the General Services Bylaw Amendment under Chapter 48, Section 5 of the Mass General Law to the Board of Selectmen for town meeting consideration.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So moved.
Thank you.
So I have 7:25 on mine, so we'll go right into our 7:25 PM hearing, which is an amendment of the Auburn zoning bylaw section 3.2.6.11, multiple business use. And I have a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Eric, would you like to introduce this one as well?
Sure.
Thank you.
Similar to the last amendment, this amendment will be, we'll be looking for the board to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. This deals with the multiple business use of our zoning bylaws, as you said, under section 3.2.6.11, and it's expanding the definition for a clarification. It currently reads a structure or lot containing two or more principal uses, and through a recommendation from Town Council, the proposal will add or a structure or lot containing two or more users of the same or similar use.
Okay. Any individual member comments on this before we? Okay. Seeing none, any public comment? Mark, sure.
Mark Warfield Street. What is the square footage of a lot that has to be for multiple businesses?
Turn it over to Matt.
Sure, through the chair, it's going to depend on what zone it's located in. Each zone has its own dimensional lot requirements, whether it's local business, highway business, etc. For example, highway business is a 10,000 square foot minimum lot requirement, local business is a 5,000 square foot minimum lot requirement, and they're different in the industrial zones as well.
Is that set for all the different precincts, like precinct 4 and all of them?
It's based on through the chair, it's based on the zoning map, not the voting precinct.
So it goes with, okay. So how many, so you could squeeze a lot of business into one site then, right? Is that?
So,
Sure. Yeah, it's similar to the previous question, Mark, you had on, it depends on who applies. Depends on the lot size that they're trying to apply for.
Depends on what it is too. Okay.
Of course, yes.
thank you, Mark. Any other public comments on the multiple business use recommendation? Okay. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
There's an opportunity for individual member comments if anybody had any additional comments. Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to recommend an amendment of the Auburn zoning, to recommend the changes on the Auburn zoning bylaw, section 3.2.5.6, general multiple business use, 3.2.6.11, multiple business use, to the Board of Selectmen. This is why I usually let Matt do it.
I'll make that motion.
Sure.
Second it.
Great, thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent. Okay. Verizon time.
Close.
We're very close. So we'll wait just one moment, so that's officially 7:30, so we can open up the next hearing. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Yes, sir.
Through the chair, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the zoning bylaw review committee for the hard work that they've been putting into the bylaws over the course of the last 6 to 7 months. Some of the members are here today, and we appreciate you coming to answer questions from the public or even provide insight as we go forward with the next public hearing. Just want to take that time to thank you and recognize the hard work that you've done.
Thank you. Echo that on behalf of the board. I have 7:30 on Verizon time here, so I entertain a motion to open the public hearing on an amendment of the Auburn zoning bylaws, section 3.1.3.2, 3.2.7.10, 9.3.13, and 9.6 to include language regarding registered marijuana dispensary (RMD) uses.
I make that motion.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Turn it over to, I believe, Matt for a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, could draw your attention to the monitor. We've put together a presentation for this use, which is a new use coming to town that doesn't exist now. So we'll get started on kind of the history of it and explain how we came to our conclusion. So in 2012, Mass Department of Public Health allows cities and towns to create laws that govern what we call RMDs. Those are known as registered marijuana dispensaries. Those regulations don't control the location and where these would fit inside cities and towns. So if we did not have our own bylaw to govern these uses, given this being our current zoning bylaw map, this green area shows where any of these RMD uses could be located in town. It's quite the substantial area. That being the case, the town administration, as well as a recommendation from multiple boards and commissions to create this zoning bylaw to help govern the uses of RMDs. So since 2013, we've begun research and development of draft bylaws. It was finalized in June of last year. And then 2 months later, as we were hoping to prep for the October 2015 town meeting, in August, the Department of Public Health updated their guidelines and changed some of the things that we were trying to do. So instead, at that time, where we still had an opportunity, we proposed a moratorium that would ban the RMD uses for a period of a year while we continue to work on the bylaw further. That was approved at last town meeting based on town meeting vote. And so in February 2016, we put together a zoning bylaw review committee, thanks to the folks who had volunteered for that and the hard work they've continued to put into it. In June, the draft bylaw for the RMD was submitted to this board, the planning board, and here we are today in August to make a recommendation to town meeting after receiving public comment. Notable dates upcoming is town meeting of October 18th, 2016, which is 9 days prior to last year's moratorium's expiration. That being the case, it would be advisable, at least from my perspective, to have this bylaw in place before the moratorium expires. So that being our current zoning map again, and now you're seeing what the zones would be without the bylaw. The bylaw that we've created has eliminated a majority of that green area into two well thought out areas in town that seem to be the best fit for these uses. And I'm going to describe further how we've come to those zones. So the red circles on this map now are 1,000-foot buffer zones based on the federal requirement that can be located to an area where children commonly congregate under Mass Department of Public Health definition, which includes schools, parks, playgrounds, licensed daycares, and a few other uses. The state Department of Public Health was a 500-foot buffer. We decided to go with the federal guidelines of 1,000 feet to cover that as well. So if we eliminate those zones, we've pulled a lot of 1,000-foot buffers around public places such as the high school, the middle school, Womansky Park, etc. The next thing that the zoning bylaw review committee examined was the residential zones. I firmly believe that many residences would not like to see a new business, not to mention an RMD, but any business next door to them in a residential zone, so we thought it would be appropriate to remove the residential zones. And that leaves us with our commercial districts and our industrial districts. Furthermore, inside both the commercial and industrial districts, we went with a 250-foot buffer zone from its surrounding residential areas. As an example, where CVS is in Auburn on Southbridge Street, directly behind them are residences on Pioneer Lane. And we didn't think it would be appropriate for a business to be located that close to residences, so we decided to put together, the Bylaw Review Committee and I, a 250-foot buffer zone to give some relief to those residences. So that further reduces those zones. After those, the residential buffers and the 1,000-foot buffer for the children, areas where children commonly congregate, you were only left with a small area of the local business district, which is in the center of town, so to speak. That area stretches from roughly Town Fair Tire on Southbridge Street to the overpass of the Mass Pike near Ron Bouchard's Acura. What was left over was essentially just Sears and the Auburn Mall and one parcel next door. So it didn't make sense to have the local business district as an approved district where you can only have one parcel. So furthermore, we examined the Highway Business District. And as you can see from this map, the Highway Business District is located in 5 different spots in town. One of them doesn't even show up anymore because of 250-foot residential buffer zone. But there are 5 of them, and each of them are different in their own characteristic. One of them consists of mostly mobile homes on the Route 20 side. And then the other one in the middle, the larger one, is where Park and Shop, there's a lot of retail chains, retail uses. The one at the end of 12, and including some big box stores. The other one at the end is a avenue with the new 12 and 20 businesses as an artery into Oxford. The one in the north, Southbridge Street going into Worcester, near Polar Beverages, has a bowling alley, a bar, a bank. It's got a lot of mixed uses. So instead of trying to choose a highway business district specifically, or making a new zone, or creating an overlay district, we felt it was appropriate to eliminate the highway business district altogether. So if we eliminate those 2 commercial zones, we're left with our 3 industrial districts. That's Industrial A, Industrial P, and the General Industrial Zone. This is consistent with 5 other bylaws that we used to pour into our bylaw to help put it together and shape it for Auburn. I think so far, okay. So the first industrial zone we looked at was Industrial A. This is Hardscrabble Road. This is where Allied Waste, Casella Waste Management are located. Those are developed. There's one vacant parcel at the end of the cul-de-sac. However, the critical thinking that the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee put into this was any vehicle that's coming off a major artery, that being 290 or the I-90 Mass Pike, is going to have to drive past West Street to make deliveries to this property, and that puts them right past our brand new middle school. We felt that would not be suitable, so we eliminated the Industrial A zone from consideration. So that leaves us with 2 areas in town. This is a stretch of Route 20 from roughly the Auburn bowling alley to Worcester on Southbridge Street, and a stretch from approximately Elm Street on Route 20 to West Tech Drive. This encompasses 2 industrial districts, the GI district, which is general industrial, and the industrial park zones. So the next item that we considered was the Aquifer 2 district. We understand that we have a very sensitive Aquifer 2 district. This is a highly regulated area for any business that comes to town, for any sort of uses. We understand its fragile nature and thought that adding a new use with unknown fertilization for cultivation of plants, etc., would not be appropriate for this, so we eliminated the Aquifer 2 district, which essentially eliminated the Sword Street Office Park and the Industrial P zone in the north. So that left us with 2 areas. And I'm going to zoom in on one of those, that being our GI district off Millbury Street and Technology Drive, and the Route 20 and West Tech Drive area. You can see there's a carved out circle in the middle of that West Tech Drive area because we recently approved a Spirit Central Incorporated, which is a cheerleading training facility on 189 Washington Street. It technically qualifies as an area where children commonly congregate, so that it gets its own 1,000-foot buffer zone right in the middle of the IP district. That buffer zone almost eliminates all frontage for the parcels on the north side of Route 20. And it also awkwardly shapes the zones remaining on West Tech Drive, where some of those parcels are like 40% located in one zone, 60% located in the other, and it creates some controversy with those parcels, whether or not these uses would be allowed, so we chose to eliminate the IP district. And that left us with these 2 zones in the GI district for consideration. So what you see here is that map that we showed at the beginning, showing what our bylaw governs and creates to narrow it down to those 2 zones versus if we did nothing, if we didn't have a bylaw on this slide, that's where they could be located. And again, where they could be located based on the bylaw. So to sum up some of the content of the bylaw, this is my last slide. We've added definitions for RMDs, use description, special permit requirements, site restrictions, buffer zones, and enforcement. Enforcement for both the special permit granting authority and the Auburn Police, and who would be enforcing under state guidelines. And by allowing the RMDs in the GI zoning district, it's via special permit and the site plan approval from the planning board. And that concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt, and again, thank you to the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee. Obviously, based on this meeting and our last meeting, clearly a lot of effort and time and thoughtfulness went into the preparation of these bylaws. So, turn it over to any member comment.
Just reiterate that we appreciate all the hard work the zoning bylaw review committee did for us, and I think that they made some really tough decisions and but appropriate decisions.
Sure. John, any comments? Paul, any comments?
It's an illegal activity. Federal law says it's an illegal activity. It's a patent violation, and the studies have been done on marijuana use, and the biggest state for marijuana use in the country is Vermont. Third is Massachusetts, way ahead of Colorado. So we already have enough marijuana coming into the state. Colorado's exporting marijuana to 40 different states illegally. The sheriffs in Colorado say it's crazy. The attorney general said it was stupid. The governor said it was stupid. And 100 or more cities and towns in Colorado have opted out. We don't have the opt-out offer in Massachusetts. We have to put up with it. And as I say, I could never vote for it. It's just an illegal activity. And what we should be doing, rather than legalizing it, we should be fighting it. And I think the governor has the same opinion.
Okay. Any additional comment from the board? Okay. We, at this time, open it up for public comment. So if anybody would like to comment on the proposal, we'd invite them to come up to the podium, state their name and address, and entertain comments. Welcome.
Hello. Chuck Miller, 34 Arlington Street. Just a point of clarification so I am clear. This doesn't give approval to any of these dispensaries. This just says that if they were to come to town, this is where they would have to be located. Is that correct?
So I'll turn it over to Matt to answer that.
To answer that shortly, yes. So this is a control mechanism so that we could govern where they could be located, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, any additional comment from the board? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opportunity for any additional individual comments. Okay. Seeing none, entertain a motion, and I'll turn it over to Matt again for the proper wording.
Sure. We'd be looking for a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, to recommend the amendment of the zoning bylaws under the sections aforementioned to the Board of Selectmen for town meeting consideration.
Make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's one opposed. Okay, thank you, everyone. At this point, we would turn to member discussion on our August 2016 meeting schedule. Matt?
Yes, through the chair, I believe the board had mentioned not holding their meeting in August 23rd in the past. I kept that discussion on the agenda in case any of the public hearings we just went through had needed another meeting for discussion. That not being the case, the other public hearings for a special permit for 310 Leicester and 22 Ashcroft Street have been continued to September 13th, anticipating that that would be the next meeting date. So if that is okay with the board, through a motion to hold our next meeting on September 13th and forego the August 23rd meeting.
I'll make a motion to forego the August 23rd meeting and have our next meeting on September 13th, 2016.
Seconded.
Okay, any further comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Turn it over to Matt for additional content.
None at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't believe the many minutes were distributed in the packet, so we can leave that for the September 13th meeting. Next meeting, as we just discussed, would be September 13th, 2016. Okay. This time, too, we just asked for if there's any further public comment. Okay. Seeing none, I'd also just like to thank Mr. Paul Kosky, who's been a longtime member of the board, for his years of service to the board. I understand Paul will be resigning as of the next meeting, so thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Motion to adjourn?
Before we do, sir,
Sure.
through the chair, I just want to echo the same sentiment on behalf of the town. It's been a pleasure working with Paul and working with you and my two stints at Town Hall, previously 2007, 2009, and now. And we appreciate all you've done and wish you luck in what you do next. Thank you.
11-hour days.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.